It's that time of the year again. We're doing Halloween appropriate games every week here at Game Over Hell, and as is tradition for me, I had to pick at least one Castlevania game. Castlevania Bloodlines isn't an overlooked entry, but it's not super popular either. It stands somewhere in the upper middle of the series. Maybe being a Sega Genesis or Mega Drive game had something to do with it. If you care about Castlevania lore, this game is actually very important to the series. It introduces more obvious parallels with the Bram Stoker novel, Dracula, including a vampire hunter that happens to be the son of Quincy Morris, who was a character in the novel. The Morris hail from Texas, and they are a branch family of the Belmont clan. The Belmont at this point in the timeline have forsaken their calling, but the Morris now have the legendary vampire killer and carry on the duty to fight Dracula. Some fans still think this is a weird one-off thing, but Lament of Innocence, which came out years later on the PS2, borrows heavily from the story of Dracula's origin in that novel as well. Like every Castlevania game prior to Symphony of the Night, this is a 2D action game with a lot of platforming. Enemies and traps are strategically placed to force you to stay alert and get used to the timing of your attacks. When you attack, you're stuck in place during the animation, and every swing has a weight to it. This is the kind of game that wants you to be precise with your attacks and your jumps, and punishes you for making useless moves without thinking. Some people don't like that, but that's the essence of classic Castlevania and what makes the experience so challenging and satisfying to overcome. In this game, Dracula has a niece called Elizabeth Bartley, who is trying to resurrect the Count. John Morris, teaming up with a spear-wielding vampire hunter Eric Lecarde, is decided on stopping her plan and destroy any monsters that get in their way. The game lets you choose between Morris and Lecarde. Their weapons are very different, but they control similarly enough you shouldn't have too much trouble getting used to one or the other. Morris plays exactly like a Belmont. You'd think with his massive Popeye arms he could just punch demons to death and would probably be more effective, but instead he chooses to contain his strength and use the whip instead. He can also attach a vampire killer to the ceiling to swing like his Spider-Man or something. Kinda weird, but okay. And it's necessary to pass through some of the gaps you can't pass by just jumping. The card can do whatever a spider can, but he can use his spear to do some kind of pole leap instead. Both characters can also pick up and use sub-weapons, which use jewels instead of hearts, just like in Legacy of Darkness for the Nintendo 64. That's right, Legacy of Darkness wasn't the first to do it. But unique to this game is how each sub-weapon has two types of attacks with two different costs in jewel. You could call these the prototypes to the item crash featuring Round of Blood. Among the items that can drop from torches, you have a power-up that makes your weapons evolve up to 3 times, and a rare occasions an orb that can turn your sub-weapon into a really powerful homing attack. However, if you get hit by anything or you have fewer than 8 jewels, you lose this power-up. Your weapon also reverts back to its third form. This might sound a bit lame, but both the fully powered weapon and the orb are incredibly powerful to the point of making bosses die really fast. While recording gameplay for this video, I was able to get good enough in the first half of the game that I could keep myself fully powered up for a long while. But I'm kind of used to Castlevania games, so I can't really tell you how hard that feat really is. And as always, you can find secret pickups in some of the walls often, including the traditional Castlevania wall meat. Apparently wall meat could be anywhere in Europe. If you're European, please tell me in the comments if you guys still keep meat inside your walls. Super Castlevania 4, which came out 3 years prior, was developed to take a lot of advantage of what the SNES could do. Bloodlines does much of the same with the Mega Drive hardware. Every level has at least one aspect in its presentation that stands out from most Genesis games. Well, unless one of those games was also from Konami. Things like simulating reflection in the water, bending and rotating the whole level, and whatever black magic does this. Compared to the other games in the series, Bloodlines levels are definitely a lot more gimmicky. More than the presentation, the level design gets very experimental very often. Love or hate this, it does make each level feel entirely distinct from one another. It's almost similar to the level design philosophy from Rocket Knight, also a Konami Mega Drive game. But Bloodlines sticks with 2D platforming from start to finish. This level design direction also definitely adds to the difficulty, because right after you clear a level and its boss thinking you're really mastering the game, the next level goes against your expectations and now you have a whole new learning experience to go through. This kind of design always has the potential to completely ruin a game, but in this case it only made the full game a very memorable experience to me. It makes this the most unique of the classic Vanias and worth playing even if you come out of it deciding it's not for you. Seriously though, the combination of spectacle and gameplay was ahead of its time. Some of these sections still look awesome. Is it as hard as Castlevania 1 or 3? No way. In fact, I found Super Castlevania 4 harder to finish. But every one of those older Castlevania games are harder than average, so don't expect to reach the ending in Bloodlines without losing a ton of lives. This game is also very noteworthy for its soundtrack. Michiru Yamane, the composer who became synonymous with the Castlevania series, had her series debut with this entry. Some of the tracks featuring Bloodlines return in later games because they're that good. The second theme seems to be attributed to Konami Kukeiha Kurabu, which was the name of the Konami sound team for many of their games. Yamane was part of that team back then. She has since made fantastic compositions for many other games this series, as well as for Bloodstained Ritual of the Night, which is a spiritual successor to the Metroid-style RPG hybrid Castlevania games. She also has a YouTube channel where she posts videos of her playing music on real instruments, including tracks from the Castlevania series. And I'm gonna leave a link to the channel in the description because she gets criminally low views for such an important composer. Even if I wasn't a total Castlevania fanboy, I still recommend Castlevania Bloodlines to any fan of retro games, Sega or the Sega Genesis itself. It's a challenging game for sure, but it's worth at least checking out with a controller in your own hands. This game is very accessible on other platforms these days. If you have a Switch or Switch 2 and you are subscribed to the Nintendo Switch Online expansion pack, the Genesis Online version of Bloodlines is emulated very well. But if you prefer more extra features and you also want a bunch of other Castlevania games, Bloodlines is part of the Castlevania Anniversary Collection that's available on Switch, PlayStation 5, PC, and even on the Xbox Series. You can't go wrong with either version. I used the footage from the collection myself. Now, I could talk about Castlevania games all month long, but I want to continue the tradition of Halloween variety on this channel. But if you really want more Castlevania, I suggest you go check out Burst Arrow's channel. He made an excellent retrospective covering every single Castlevania game that was ever released and many horror-themed retro game coverage compilations. Again, link to his channel will be in the description. We'd also love to read your thoughts about Castlevania Bloodlines, so don't be shy and leave a comment. And of course, if you enjoyed the video, consider subscribing for more content. We have something in the works pretty much every week. October is just starting, we have a lot more videos coming, and we'll see you in the next one. Take care.